All right, let's play the track, and I'm gonna mute. I'm gonna mute myself so I can eat my pizza in peace. God damn it. I'll mute my my mic. All right, playing the track. I'll be back in a minute. I'm still eating pizza. That's how that song should end. It should just be me going, I'm still eating pizza, and then the song ends. Quick update on the pizza. Pizza's still delicious. Just wanted everyone to know that. Very good. I'm very happy with my life choices. I don't regret this one bit. I am very pleased with the aromas happening in the studio right now, the doughy, cheesy goodness, the crunchy texture, the whole Detroit experience. I feel like I'm in Detroit. It's very, very good. We're all very happy. You should all be very proud of me. I feel like I'm doing a really good job. And, you know, I just think it important we just acknowledge this moment. It's a special moment, and, you know, I'm very happy that I got this pizza. So that's all I wanted to say. Okay, let's do this. God, pizza's just so good. I mean, even bad pizza is still pizza, but when you get a really good, when it just hits that spot, you know? Motor City Pizza, baby. They have one at Safeway. And I was like, you know what? Maybe that's what's happening. Maybe that's what's happening. Okay. The best way to go about this probably... Okay, let's start with the master bus. Let's just kind of see what we've got going here. The glue. So I've got everything coming into a clipper. And all that's doing is really a little bit of subtle coloring, analog color and sort of saturation. I think this headroom thing is, I've noticed the more you turn it up, the more it kind of pushes it into the saturation from what I recall. Let me try it. Yeah, you can hear that. So that's all it's doing. And then I set the ceiling as just kind of under, so nothing would peak essentially. So it functions as a limiter that adds a little bit of color. And I've been doing that rather than just putting a limiter on something. Saturation is, a clipper is a really nice way of kind of coloring your transient hits a little bit and like controlling them and adding a little crunch or a little subtle saturation or whatever. After that, I forget, this one is, I think this one has, am I mistaken, doesn't it? Yeah, it has a clipping saturation function in it too, but I didn't use that here because I already had it. And so this is without it. Let's hear it with it first. So you can hear that when I took it off, it just kind of lost a little bit of presence, a little bit of like kind of in your faceness. Bringing it in. Just functioning as a little bit of a saturator and compression and all that stuff. So some multi-band compression in the low end just to control it because there's a lot of like poof, poof, poof going on. I think I eventually actually also layered my kick with Carpenter Brute's kick. And then I have, so all that to say, there's a lot of like oomph going on with the basses, even though there's sidechain going on, but it's a lot of like, there's just a lot going on in this mix. But ultimately, when I sat back and listened to it and when the final mix was done, especially when I got the mastering, that's usually where I'm like, oh, the mastering can kind of like pull everything together. And I go, oh, this is great. Where I'm like, I don't know, is it messy? I don't know. And then I send it off and usually the mastering guy will clean up what I thought was a mess or kind of like tighten up the things I missed and all that stuff. Okay, so here, I was sure there was here it is. So let me bypass it. So the first couple of bars I'll have it in. This is just the Oxford Inflator. It's great. I highly recommend it. It's great for, it's a little bit of an upward compressor, saturation, kind of, it's glue for sure. And it's just really good at it. Very transparent, I think. It doesn't add a ton of like saturation color. It just kind of brings up your levels and kind of just tightens things up. It's really fantastic. Okay, so this is with it. And without it. So it's subtle, but you can hear it just kind of, everything does a little bit. I'm not a big fan of things that do a ton, like one plugin that sort of does it all. It gets a little, it can get abrasive and often there are a lot of sometimes more or less subtle artifacts that get added to the track and kind of can add some weird colors and stuff. Okay. Let's just start with the drums, just so we do that this time. Let's start with the drums. So let me see. This is Carpenter Brute's kick and snare. So he had this guy, and I thought, so it was kind of, this is what it sounds like. You know, it doesn't have a ton of low anyway, so I low cut that. Because I really like that like mid-range kind of clicky sound. And my kick has a bit more of a modern feel to it. It's a little bit more like EDM-y or electronic. I don't know what the term is, but very short and it had that like mid-range punch, but it actually doesn't have a lot of like that sort of high mids clickiness to it. That sort of like 3 to 5K, you know, Lindrum attack click, and they worked well together. So let's hear them together. If I can find it. Where is it? Yeah. You know, simple, but it worked really nicely. And obviously that's Carpenter Brute's snare. I just, I didn't want to like mess with his, I just kind of cleaned up little things that were muddy or whatever. And so it was really, he was great to work with. It was like really, very sort of easy. I just kind of, we threw it his way and he sent me all this back and I was like, oh, this is amazing. And then I took it and mixed a little bit and sent it back, and we had Nest involved as well. So that was just fun and a pleasure. Let's see, what's this vocoder clap? That's Carpenter also. And forgive me if I say something, I don't know if if Nest Acoustic is watching, but I can't remember who did what. Like most of this is all him, but again, that's mine, but I think I built this as Next Level. That's actually the Shadows pad from Spire, if I'm not mistaken. And I sent it over to Nest. So it's all just like, it's all audio, and I don't know who had their little grubby fingers in what, but that's how it went. Let's see, because this is the session I don't have as much of an overview of, but just because it was I was like rushing to get the mix ready, and I didn't have time to like clean up how I like to clean up a session and be really neat, and it sort of helps my brain get an overview. But this one I just kind of had to go fly by the seat of my pants, and that's how we did it. I mean, let's just go through individual elements. Carpenter Brute, he added these like nice techno-y 90s ravey sounds, and that's exactly like what I was missing. Let's go through them. This type of thing, So that's so 90s to me. I love it. If I'm not mistaken, there's some like like ravey kind of like like the Prodigy. I forget what the name is, but those kind of 90s rave sounds. We'll get it. We'll get to it. That's sick. So cool. So this is an op that Carpenter Brute did, and I threw it. There was a little note that rubbed against the chord that we had added, and I just threw it through something called Chroma, and essentially removed that one note by using it as almost like a vocoder or something. That Chroma's very good. That was a little tip that it's what you do with like color bass and stuff like that. And I don't know what it's called, liquefying, or I don't know, actually no, colorize. But it was a little tip that Ben showed me, that Nest Acoustic showed me. Just a classic, like vintage bass op. That's all Carpenter Brute. Let's see. So this is mine, but this is thrown over to Ben, to Nest. He fattened it up. I don't know if Frank did anything on this, if Carpenter Brute did any treatment of this. I don't think so, but I could be wrong. It's so nice and fat and like, it's just grubby. I like it. So this is kind of like I think I've showed it on the, do it here, I'll show you. I've gone through this sound. I mean, I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm giving all my secrets away, but I just said that I'm not about secrets, so we might as well. I went in here, and this is the famous, infamous Midnight sound that I never thought for 2 seconds about that would be anything special to anyone. I just like the sound, and then it's apparently, it's sort of become, I think it's on the pad. I'm not sure. Release pad. Here it is. It's become the Midnight signature sound. So it's really simple. It is, it's just a pad. And when you let go, it does that sound. So this is, you just press a note. If you hold the chord down. And then I bounce that and threw some filters on it and kind of like tighten it up. And then it's being used in all kinds of ways. That's how I make that midnight sound, or I have it as a sample now that I can kind of use it in a controlled way. But what I did is with that same sound, I made these, this, where was it? The club sound? Where was it? Why don't we just, club sound, here it is. This was sort of like essentially just the stabs. So I made a chord, and I had a couple of like chord samples, and I just used it. They were, you know what this reminds me of is Faithless. I can't get no sleep. You know, bump bump dub 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 dub. Classic, man. Let's try. I even found a preset years ago in. I don't know if it's in. Is it here? Pluck. I called it Faithless Pluck. There we go. Boom. This one. It's not. Actually, it's the sound I used in Chariot. You know, what is it? What does it do? It goes, something like that. I don't know. But it like tons of reverb on it. But really, it's this thing. If I do this. How does it go? It's something like this, right? Those are those vibes, bro. Come on. Come on. Time for a bite of pizza. Yeah, that is from Faithless. What's it called? I actually don't know. I was told not to speak with my mouth full, but now I can just call it ASMR. It's fine. Insomnia, that's it. Thank you, chat. All right. So that was kind of like my little homage to that. Because it has this sort of a sound in Insomnia. You know what I'm talking about. Now. I don't know what that is. Song, band, let me know. Let me know. I'll check it out. What else have we got? Okay, moving on. We were here. I'm just gonna go through. There's so many sounds, and I don't know what is related and not. So I'm just gonna kind of bang through them and see how it all feels. What have we got here? We did the bass. This is something. Bass lead. This is Carpenter. Carpenter as well. This, or it could be me. No, I think this is Carpenter. This feels like what's it like, that Tom Sawyer bass. You can make a similar thing. I made a similar sound in my OB6. Used a lot on Heroes. It's in the intro to Change Your Heart or Die, when it goes do-do-do-do-do-do-do, and then the bass comes in. That type of sound, but that's this. What's this? It's kind of like wonky sounds. They're all phasey and weird, and it just felt right, you know? Let's go through. That's effects. I mean, nothing. Let's see. Oh, maybe. I guess it's a synth effect. All these weird sounds, when you hear them soloed out, you're like, what? But let's listen here. What? And it's a little bit dissonant, and I love it. And I'm not so good at that. Frank is Carpenter Brut is way better at that. So it was a nice mix. I feel like I have a very clean sound. And I love that sort of cleanness, and that can go both ways. Sometimes you need a little wildness, and I think it can become a little too sterile. And I think sometimes I can tell when I'm like, I'm not the right guy for this. It's too clean, you know. And So that's why I like working with people that kind of pull me in a different direction. It's a bit more fun. Like a guitar synth, like a big ass guitar lead type of thing. It's a synth, obviously, but it functions that way. Oh, here we go, baby. And obviously that's his sidechain. He sent me all that, and I added sidechain to my own stuff, but you know, it was pretty much baked in. Made my life nice and easy. This is the one I was talking about. This sort of acid sound, that's what I was talking about. I'm struggling. I always think of one sound. Is it? It's not. Is it Firestarter? Prodigy? There's one sound that has. Or is it? That's not Firestarter. That's not Smack My Bit B Up. Not that, is it? Anyway, cool sounds. The vocoder clap we heard, that was like from a drum machine, or I guess vocoder. I don't know how he got it, but it's cool. This is him as well, I think. Yeah. Listen to that. It's like how crunchy and saturated that is. Ugh. Love that. Well, it's all wonky and kind of like there's no low end. It's just like very nice. So electric bass. As you can tell, a ton of textures in here. Let's just play it from here. So this is me adding some textures where I felt like there was an opportunity to add some width to not only the stereo field, but the chords, like sort of really expand it and open it up. And I always search for ways to do that. So it was nice. Like Frank has sent me this like really solid bed of like just textures and pads, but there was like room for these extensions, these chord extensions that I always seem to gravitate towards. And so again, it was really nice. This was a super easy collab. Like, not that we didn't chip away at it or whatever, but it was like, hey, I did this. Hey, sick. Let me do this. Hey, sick. Moving on. You know, there was never like, this doesn't work. It was just like, let's just have allow for the process to unfold. And yeah, it was fun, man. Who wrote the chord progression? That was Carpenter Brute. I did the verses, this whole thing. You know, that bass, that's mine. So that whole vibe, and then he added all the textures, and then he did the chords here, and I just filled in the voicings and built it out and all that stuff with him. But the demo he sent us, the very first pass, it was like a messy, just a quick bounce, like, here, I did this. What do you think, guys? That was these chords, and then I just kind of fleshed it out. So real fun and easy. I don't know what this is, but probably something that sat in a space that couldn't even hear it in the mix, so I muted it. Yeah. Like, there's so much going on. And that's not all of it. Like, there's so much. So it's always such a challenge or even a balance to, like, you want to make it feel like this wall of sound, but how much can you fill that space? You've got to really do a lot of mixing and EQing. But I liked all the elements that he had sent, and I was like, I want to get rid of this. There was like that one sound where I was like, I can't even hear it in there. So it ended up not being able to fit after I had added my sounds. What's this? That's Carpenter Brute as well. You barely hear it, but it's a really nice, like, low end rumble warmth. You hear it there. You know, it just adds that it takes up that low space in the mix. That's mine. This is mine. That is not mine. I forget who that is. If that's feels like a Carpenter Brute sound. Terminator bass. That's mine. That feels like something that Nest would have messed with, because it feels a little deeper and kind of dirtier and warmer. Like he got his little grubby hands on it. This is all vocals. What else have we got? These toms are sick from Carpenter Brute. Ugh, like they're so, it's just so, even without the drum bus, they're just like crunchy and compressed and saturated. Didn't want to do too much to them. I think I even just rolled off some highs. I didn't mind that it had a little bit of rumble in the low end. You can even hear that little click, but like you're not hearing that in the whole thing. Once everything's playing, it's like, it's fine. But yeah, could I have done a better job at cleaning out some of these files? Sure, I'm sure I could. I think that's kind of it. Yeah, we have this clap. See, now I'm realizing, did I have double claps? Let's listen to this. Oh, okay, it's different. Okay, now I was worried. I was like, do I have the same file phasing? It's just a bit random, but they kind of sit in there nicely. And it sounds like this one be coming right. Something's coming right before or after the one. Yeah, right after. So it's flamming a little bit, and that worked nicely with the snare. That's essentially it. We'll get to... The vocals are in there, but I almost don't want to... Because Tyler had written... We had a whole rap. Tyler had a rap. It was pretty sick. But I don't want to... I want to leave that until we... Because the plan is to eventually release a vocal version, and we'll probably call that Last Night in Paris. But Tyler felt like... he had written, we had these verses and this rap part. It was really sick. And then he had written this chorus, and he was like, I feel like I can do a better job of that. And we made a decision last minute to be like, you know what? Let's make this an instrumental. And it worked better. And Frank Carpenter Brute was very gracious in allowing to do that, and was like, that's fine. And because it was a last minute kind of like, hey, here's kind of what we're thinking of doing. But the plan is eventually to make it a full like vocal mix. But I think Tyler wanted to tweak the top line for the choruses and just kind of rethink it and reapproach it. So these are the things you make them. There's always these moments where you have to let go of an idea of what it is you thought you were doing because you're pivoting or something's changed in the plan or whatever. And it was one of those, like, we constantly always thought of it as a vocal track, but Tyler made that call, and rightly so, honestly. In hindsight, I could hear what he meant. And I know that feeling of going, I don't think I did a good enough job. Like this, I can do better. This needs to be better, and that's how we both are. We want to like chip it away at it until it feels right and like it hits the mark. And that takes work, and it takes trying and, experimenting and all that stuff. So you're going to come across those moments where you're kind of going, oh, maybe it's just an instrumental, and you have to let go of the idea of like, well, what about this song? And but I love that rap part. All right. It's like, yeah, cool. Well, we'll do that down the line, but this is what it should be. And then it comes out. No one else knows about that backstory. You just know it as an instrumental. And so you don't have all that back. It's just us as the creator. I'm sure any creative person on this stream has been in that situation. Any producer, songwriter, whatever, artist, is that thing of like things change and evolve, and you change and evolve. And sometimes you got to let go. You got to let go of that initial idea that you thought you were making, because it got to pivot. Listen to Greg. I mean, this is kind of it, but maybe there's questions. How about this? I'm going to take a bite of my scrumptious pizza and do some ASMR while you ask me questions in the chat, and we'll take it from there. Okay, pizza time. I'm in the pizza zone, guys. Okay, let's do this. Let's get ready. Get ready for a crunchy bite. Okay, let's do a crunchy bite. It's delicious. It's very delicious. It's cold pizza. Damn. Just out here making the right life choices, guys. Let's look at the drum bus. I saw someone asking about that in the chat. Okay, so this is what's going on. With no plugins, this is what the drums sound like. And with it. So as you can hear, not a huge difference. I don't want the drum bus to be doing all that work. If it sounds so much more different than, I don't know, then I'd rather fix the issue with the individual element before it hits the drum bus, whether it's EQ or compression or whatever. I don't want my drum bus to be like the fix for all the mess that I created. So really, you have some saturation just to give it a little bit of crunch and color. Let's bypass it, listen to it clean, and then I'll add it. And you hear that, it's like it's gluing it together a little bit. It's controlling the low end just a tiny bit. Without it, with it. A little brightness, a little bit of crispness. A little bit of Christmas. We all need more Christmas. Again, that's a little bit of crunch, a little bit of clipping, I think, is going on here. If I'm not mistaken. Doesn't this have, oh, maybe it's just a straight saturation type of thing. I think maybe that's all it's doing, if I'm not mistaken. And then this guy. So this is with it. Not a huge difference. And you can see I'm just adding a little bit of sustain, tiny bit of punch on the whole spectrum. A little bit of sustain on the kind of bright, clappy sounds. You know, hats. Just getting that like washed out, like, you know, it's adding a little bit more sparkle to the whole thing, but in a subtle way. No extra clipping. We're already doing that. And so let's see this one. Enhancer. Again, here I'm doing a little bit of saturation and boosting. So let's say with and without. A little bit flat, you know? Just cleans it up. Cleans that mid-range a little bit. Adds some kind of, some tightness in the low end. A little bit of crisp, sparkly qualities. A little bit of compression. That's all it's doing. And then this guy I found through Waves like earlier this year. And let's bypass and you can hear what it's doing. It's actually really sick. I think it's best when you just use it subtly, but it's really nice on I used it on the drum bus for maybe the drum bus and the master bus actually on Love is an Ocean, I forget, but definitely on the drum bus from what I recall. And it's like a nice final step to compress the low end a little bit, bring some presence in the highs and mids, kind of bring, you know, just tighten things up a bit. You could do a little bit of parallel compression if you want. I normally don't go beyond this kind of area in terms of this is sort of the compression it's adding, and then you can sort of tilt your EQ a bit here, and depending on, you know, how you're, it's an overall last like tweak to the overall thing once it's been processed and that kind of thing. That's essentially it. Yeah. What other question do you someone has Greg, is do you use a transient shaper on the bus? Yeah. Where in the chain? Well, yeah, there you got it. That's it. It depends. Usually, transient shaper is something I use either as the first thing or right after a little bit of saturation or a clipper maybe. And then you can kind of design your transients a little bit or tighten them up or, add the glue or whatever. And then that's when I want to throw it through maybe some compression, EQ, whatever it is I'm doing, saturation, whatever. So that's essentially it. And let's see here, the master. We went through the master, but it's essentially what it is. You know what? I could play the rap verse. I feel like I can get away with that. I don't know. You know what? I don't know how much Tyler wants to change, so I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it for now, just out of respect for my partner in crime. We will reveal it soon enough. Yeah. What else? What other questions do you guys have? This was a short one because it's a lot of individual elements, and I don't have the same overview in terms of what plays well together. I mean, these look like they're all like pads. Probably why I've colored them that way, but. This is everything. Someone said if I deal with phase issues, if I do, I haven't noticed it. Maybe there's a more astute mixer engineer out there than I who can pick up on all my flaws. I'm sure there is. Phase issues I find is when you're choosing like the wrong sounds. I think it's often in the low end. If you're like using multiple kicks and you're not, you're not like good at layering them and making sure that they don't cover similar frequency areas, that's where that can happen. It's funny. Yesterday I came across this video about linear phase versus what's it called? Something else, natural phase or something, minimal phase. I forget. It's like a whole setting and some EQs and stuff. And to be honest, I don't really think about it. I don't know. I don't run into phase issues really, or maybe I do and my ear's not picking it up, but I don't think of, I noticed if well, I guess I'll put it this way. If there's phase issues, I don't try to fix it in the mix. I try to change the sound. That's an indication that you're doing something that is, I don't know, that is colliding with what you've already done. And so you need to revisit what is causing the issue, what sound. Is it just, maybe it is just EQ, you need to low cut a pad or whatever, a bass or whatever. But I would say I always approach my mix starts in the production. That's when I start mixing, is when I'm choosing the sounds. That makes your mixing process way easier. If you are already choosing sounds that will go together and you notice it, and as you go through sounds and add to your production and fill it out, it is that's the challenge. I mean, yeah, there's a lot going on, but everything is kind of doing different things, and so I don't know. That's a really long-winded answer to go no, but maybe, I don't know. This, and then we got this. Like, there's so much going on. There's so many layers, but somehow they seem to work together. And times that they didn't, I found that I could kind of EQ myself out of it. What did I do here, for example? Just a big aggressive low cut and like some tweaking, without it. You're getting a lot of that kind of right around this area. That kind of thing. And this, you don't need anything below this frequency area. None of that. The bass is covering that. So I don't know. I don't think about phase stuff. Maybe I should. Maybe I should get rid of that. So that maybe I'm the problem here. Is there anything you do for yourself once you're done with an album, like take a trip? No, it's not like a it's not like a ritual I have, but this time I actually did. Usually I'll just take some weeks off or take a month where I'd kind of just take it slow because I need to like decompress. But this time I did that, but I had started. I was working on the sample pack for Splice that I just finished. It will be out sometime in January. Maybe I'll go through some of the sounds on this very stream. But this year, because I knew I was moving to Oregon from LA, I had just watched a movie called The Player from 1992 with Tim Robbins. Very cool LA noir movie. Really, really great. Watch it. And there's a scene where they go to this spa in Tim Robbins and his lover in the movie. And I was like, this looks so sick. And where is this? And I remember Googling that place a few years ago. And it's a real place out in a little desert city named 29 Palms. It's out there and, kind of close to Palm Springs and that whole kind of area. And it's a desert spa and it's really amazing. So I went and did a trip like a couple of weeks later. I'd booked a couple of nights at that place. It's a really amazing spa. And I was all excited about getting the mud bath that he gets in that film. I was like, I gotta get a mud bath. And then it turns out they closed that. They took that away 4 years ago. They no longer do mud baths. And then I also got sick. I think I'd been working so hard, and then I think I just got a little bit of an inner ear infection and kind of got a bit of a cold. So I was like, just like chilling in my room for a few days. I had a couple of drinks and some nice food and sat in the amazing natural springs. It's called, what's it called? So it used to be owned by Al Capone. There's the Al Capone suite. It's called Two Bunch Palms spa. So look that up. It's really beautiful, very secluded, very chill, just very, very chill. Highly recommend it. So that was a little thing I did for myself. I'm like, I'm going to give myself this trip. It's going to be great. And it'll also going to last kind of California desert experience before I left the state of California to live in Oregon. And so, yeah, that was my little present to myself. And I'm going to have another present for myself right now by eating another bite of this delicious, scrumptious pizza. Hang on. This is very good. Mouth sounds. Let's do another bite. Natalie, don't you like ASMR? And don't you like pizza? Come on. You gotta live a little. And also, why are you up at 3:30 a.m. listening to my sorry ass droning on about phase and EQ and pizza? Someone asked if I miss anything about LA. I don't. I actually don't. I mean, maybe I need to live here longer to be like, oh my God, I miss blah. But, LA is a fantastic city in many ways, but I also feel like it's declined a lot in the last 15 to 20 years, even more since the 90s. But since I moved there 13 years ago, I think that the city has changed. Hollywood is changing. You know, it's all feeling like a dying place in many ways. I think that's what they're feeling. I think maybe also the droughts, the climate change, everything, and then everyone moving out of LA to do entertainment anywhere else. Because it's all becoming decentralized. Like, it's not really central to LA. It's actually the opposite. It's so expensive to shoot in LA. So like no one can afford that a lot of the time. So it's too big. Yeah. As a Californian, it has a bit. That's my take on it. But I was also just ready to live in a small town with a bit more of a sense of community and closer to the countryside, and not kind of be in sort of the big metropolitan, sort of, what I'm trying to say, metropolitan city. And at this point in my life, I want to just kind of have a quieter space around me, and that was kind of what I need. I don't know if it's too fake. Too fake depends on the people you're hanging with. I think most people in LA are just hardworking people that are struggling to get by, and if they work in the industry, it's like they're like struggling script writers or songwriters or struggling producers or actors trying to make it while they drive Uber. It's like, it's not fake. Yeah, sure, if you're hanging out with assholes, but I don't know. That's people. There are real people everywhere, and everyone's just trying to do a thing, you know. And LA has that, but I do feel like living in a small town, like in a small city now, people have more time to, you know, you have conversations. It's a bit more local. People know each other. That's what I was missing, and I love that I have that now. So, Mads Mikkelsen in Star Wars, yes, Rogue One. He's just out there, and I think that was shot in Iceland, if I'm not mistaken. So beautiful. Yeah, man, that felt very like Pacific Northwesty, that rain and that mist and everything from the beginning of Rogue One. Sick. I wanted a sanctuary. Exactly, Mary. Mary gets me. Now listen to me eat pizza. It's delicious, guys. I tell you what, before we sign off, let me go through some of these serum presets that I made. Oh, that's the wrong one. Check these out. All right. Got the bass from Clean Eyes. Yeah, imagine making this into a job. I know. That's how I feel every day of my life. I feel like it's the biggest gift. It's always what I wanted to do, and I feel so fortunate that I get to do it. My neighbor's calling me. Hang on. I feel so fortunate that I get to do it, and it's because of you guys. It's true. So I'm out here just living my best life, making funky sounds. Wait, something's wrong. Why is it not doing this? It's supposed to do a thing. Why is it not? Maybe I didn't assign it properly. All right. Next sound. Yeah, I had to call the Reese bass Kyle Reese. How has this never been done before? pretty sick. This is the bass I used in Afterglow Part 2. What key is that in? I think it's like E minor. I like this one. And then you can push the magic knob. Touch the magic knob. Good things happen when you touch the magic knob. Jeez. The cool thing in in Serum 2 is you can use these, it has these clips. So for each preset, I add a little clip so you can kind of hear it. So nice little like, you know, preview of the sound we got here. I absolutely love, that was loud, I'm sorry. I absolutely love the new features in Serum 2. Let's make it here. How you can essentially mix inside of the synth. Like you can send things to Reverb, send, and have them not just be summed by this. You can send directly. It's just really nice. It functions as a, you know, for those of you that haven't used it, way more flexibility with effects, and you have another oscillator, and it's just really cool. Really had a lot of fun making these presets. Let's have a listen what this is doing. Off. Someone's asking if Serum can replace Diva. I mean, I think they're wildly different synths. You can do similar things in Serum. I don't know if you can get it to sound exactly like Diva. Diva has a much more of a vintage wiring, like it's modeled to be wired and sound like certain vintage synths. The Juno is one of them, and I think the Jupiter 8. And there's like, it's sort of the way it's wired. You can kind of, it's just got that slightly more vintage classic color, or you can just do so many batshit insane things in Serum. But you can get, you know, dreamy in Serum for sure. It can do more, but it can do other things. And I don't know that it does exactly what Diva does, but it doesn't need to. I don't know. For me, they're not interchangeable. They're very different colors. Love this one. It's for you vaporwave heads out there. This one is really nice. I love this one. So I was able to use a convection. Is it called convection? Wait, convolution, not convection reverb. What the hell am I talking about? That's an oven. What? Convolution reverb. Convolve. And it's so, one thing I missed for Serum 2 was like these really long reverbs, and I wasn't sure, but I did some digging, and like some of these, yeah, you can get real long and you can choose their tails. We shorten this one. So without, like this is the release. Super short, right? But with this, it just becomes this beautiful pad. You know, it just hangs there, it just dangles. Let's reset it. Got a really nice velocity sensitivity on this one. Something I've been doing a little bit more of lately. For big like massive pads, I always wanted to just be like zeroed out and just kind of like as punchy and present as you can get it. But it's really nice when you find a sound that lends itself to more like humanistic playing. What do I mean by that? Like human playing. I don't know. The human touch, not just like MIDI dots in a Logic arrangement, but how you would play an instrument. And it makes me wanna play it when it has that kind of touch sensitivity. Listen to how long it's just drenched. Make it even more. So that's very nice. This one is pretty sick too, from what I recall. Let's have a listen. That's sick. Someone's asking in chat in the chat if I sell my presets. I do, and I will. This is the Serum 2 presets that I made for my new Splice sample pack that's coming out in January. So this will all be available on Splice sometime in January. Let's go on here. Forgiveness. This was actually a chord progression that Oliver, my brother, came up with, and we were messing around with some loops for the pack, and I ended up using it as the little clip here. I love these chords. This is very
Let's close this. This feels very Disclosure to me. Listen to this. Very Disclosure. And I love the delay that kind of hangs when you close the filter. You close it. Just that little subtle delay. That's just nice. It's clean. It doesn't get in the way of anything, but it adds a little bit of depth to it. This one's called Laura Palmer. It felt like a Twin Peaks pad to me. Let me listen. You're right. It does have some Golden Gate vibes, that other pad. That's actually true. I don't know why, but it was giving me Twin Peaks vibes. Right? Come on, guys. Come on. Liminal Spaces. This one is my jam. Talk about reverb. Come on. What? Listen to that. Ooh, come on. Like, I can't wait to mess with these presets that I made. This is what I love, that you can... This is sent to... Again, I'm using the convection reverb, convolution reverb. Very long, like it's set to like 20 seconds, massive. But then I low cut it. That's a key. You always low cut your reverbs when you're dealing with long tails. If you have other stuff going on, most likely you do in the mix. You know, clean up that reverb. You might even want to high cut it, leave the mids. But in this case, you know, you don't need the rumble in the low end. But I love that you can essentially keep this filter a little closed. Try this. Just let it ring out. Isn't that? And if we shorten this tail so it's super tight, you can really hear the tail. Isn't that? That's just reverb. What you can do is even throw a little compressor on that and just kind of... That way you're compressing the reverb. You're bringing it up to the forefront. That's how you do it, people. It's loud, sorry. Had to include this, guys. Of course I did. The Shadows pad. Now this is me redoing it in Serum. It's actually the sound I used when I did the 2024 Shadows Redux last year, and just about a year ago, actually, I think. And I made the Shadows pad is from Spire, the main shadows, like diddle 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 diddle. But I kind of, it's a very simple pad, but I redid it in Serum, and I ported it over and kind of made it into a Serum 2 pack, and you know, with little extra features. But it's just so nice. What do we got here? What tempo wise? We're a little fast, but it's okay. Let's do this. I found out that Shadows is like 81 BPM. How slow is that? I thought it was like 88 or something. Or maybe it's 85. I thought it was 81. So listen to this. It's just crisp. It has to have that searing, like, you know, you gotta have that searing sizzle. It's just got this wetness, lots of delay. Yeah, this is all sounds in my Serum 2 preset pack that'll be on Splice as part of the sample pack in January. Greg, I think it was Greg that asked. You need that sizzle, bro. Sizzle from the resonance. So that's the Shadows pad. You could probably play the drop as well. Let me have a listen. It's a little plucky, but you could tweak it. I'm gonna do a little. What is it? Moving on, Syndicate. This is the pad I made to open the Syndicate record. I forget the exact chords right now, but it's essentially the big pad that opens up, that kind of opens. It's sort of filtered and it opens up. Let's see what this thing is playing. So kind of like a take on the Shadows pad, but something that doesn't have as much of a plucky quality and just is open, is big, and you can close it, and it doesn't have that, you know, that kind of... what else have we got? This one is also a favorite of mine. This is essentially the same rhythm. This is the pluck from Runaways and also from Digital Dreams. And the previous roll, it's playing the same. This is what it played in Runaways. I'm just a sucker for plucks like this, you know? Anything that has like a little movement to it and you can just, I don't know, it's instant vibe. So listen. So I wanted most of these sounds to have some movement to it, like a lot of like, not every sound has tons of macros on it because not every sound calls for that, in my opinion. But I wanted them to have movement to it that could easily be accessed and automated and all that stuff. So these are suggestions. Obviously, you can do your own macros. You can mess around with it. Do whatever you want. Let's listen to Crystal Rain. So this starts like this, and then you can kind of open it up even more. There's 2 shimmers here. Hang on, listen. Let's listen. You hear that? Just keeps going. There's depth to these. I wanted them all to have a sense of depth and scope. And I don't think I'd be able to have done that in Serum 1 in the same way, just because you can do more, and the delay and especially the reverb capabilities and the way you can route things here allow for more flexibility on that in that sense. So that was really fun to mess around with. This one's called Dark Forces. Let's have a listen. Turn up the tempo here. Let's go on. This is a nice one. And this is just one sound. You hear how like that round low end? Just real nice texture. And I feel like they sit really nicely in a mix because there should not be any like muddiness going on in the low end. That's something that's a pet peeve of mine. Another pet peeve of mine is that a preset is just so crazy hot that you play it and it's set to 0 and it's just like blowing out your speakers because they were working at it at this level and they just cranked it, and it's like, what's the point? None of these do this. It's a pet peeve, but I don't know. All is dialed and feels present, and it's not going to blow out your speakers. See? Let's see what else we got. Mall Arcade. Listen to that ring out. That is so nice. Sarah Connor, here we go, baby. That's almost like something out of It Follows, Disaster Piece. I love that score, and I think he uses a lot of like bit crush and stuff like that. It sounds like it anyway. Really good sound sort of aesthetics, in my opinion. All right, Vapor Dystopia. Who came up with that stupid name? So notice that none of these are like peaking even when I open the filters. This is not me bragging. It's just little things like that. I feel like there are too many presets where they're just like not gain staged. So, and there's not internal compression to just control what it is you're doing. And I want there to be, it's got to be a clean, well-designed sound. It makes your mix process, going back to what we were talking about earlier, makes the mixing process better when you start with a solid sound that is not messy and all that stuff. So as I open this filter, you can hear it. Even when I add bit crusher and distortion and shit. Look at that. It's present. That's sick. That's some vibes right there, guys. I guess that's that. I don't know what this is, but that's the pack. I think there are 30 sounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13. Maybe there are 31. I don't know. That's it, guys. I'm super stoked for you all to hear that. This is like another album sneak peek. I mean, probably some of these sounds will be used in the future. I sent some ideas off to Tyler yesterday and last night, and there are definitely sounds from this pack because I'm like, I've spent all this time making these sounds. I'm gonna use them. So I hope you will find lots of joy. My contact at Splice, when I sent them the final pack the last week, we spoke yesterday, and he gave me a nice little pat on the back and said that it was, I think it was nice to hear from him, but my goal is always to make sure that presets can be used for actual music making. And I think this is not to sound like a grumpy old man yelling at the clouds, but I do think in some culture or in some like genres, there's obviously like you've got dubstep, you've got bass music, you got a lot of like color bass and growly stuff, and that's obviously just its own genre. But sometimes there is such a focus on crazy sounds where it's like, sure, but what if I wanted to play some chords? And that is always how I approach it. And so I hope these presets, they should be able to be used for music and for songwriting and for vibes and melodic vibes, and not just sound effects or, it's this, I'm a music guy, I'm just a chord guy. So that's sort of how I approach it. But hopefully I feel like I've tried to add something that feels classic and modeled after, your Junos and Jupiters and all that stuff, but hopefully with a little edge and kind of evolved a bit with the new things we can do with technology and just adding new textures to these sounds that are sort of ingrained in us. So that's my hope. Guys, thank you so much for joining. This was a fun, loose one. I'm going to finish my pizza, and who knows, maybe Yogi will get a little piece too. You never know. He's looking up at me. He heard me say his name. He doesn't know what pizza means, but he knows what TREAT means. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great night. Love you all. Take care. Be safe and be kind to each other. Goodbye.